Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating philosophical framework laid out in a 2015 text by Zhu Feng. We're looking at the architecture of miracles through focused persistence. And specifically, we're exploring how this text claims we can achieve the seemingly impossible, not through magic, but through intense, unyielding focus. So let's just dive right into this with a super provocative idea straight from the text. What if miracles aren't magic at all? Like, what if they're simply inactive programs just waiting for us to hit run? It's a completely different way to look at the fabric of the universe, right? To understand Zhu Feng's system, we'll be exploring 4 logical steps today. First, the mechanics of miracles. Second, the modern distraction trap. Third, the eightfold liberation state. And finally, the daily practice blueprint. All right, let's start with section 1, the mechanics of miracles. Activating the impossible. So how does the source material actually define a miracle? Well, according to Zhu Feng's framework, miracles aren't just parlor tricks. We're talking about massive physical transformations, things like rejuvenation, miraculous cures for terminal illnesses, or, get this, even traveling through wormholes. Or it could be something as deeply personal as simply realizing your most cherished wishes. Basically, if it's thought to be impossible, the text says it qualifies as a miracle. And this brings us to the core premise of the entire text. It states, the changes in all phenomenon in the universe are governed by programs. Zhu Feng is arguing here that these seemingly impossible events are actually governed by strict, universal rules. They run completely automatically, but, and this is a big but, only once they are properly activated. To make this a bit more concrete, the author uses biological metaphors. Think about our natural physiological responses. Just as a sexual encounter naturally leads to climax, or how childbirth automatically produces milk once that specific biological program is triggered, the text asserts that universal miracles operate exactly the same way. The universe automatically produces miracles when the right effort triggers the system. It just requires a different kind of trigger. Moving on to section 2, the modern distraction trap. Why miracles are rare. You might be wondering, if it's just a program, why aren't we seeing miracles every day? Well, the text points out that in our modern society, we've actually lost what it calls a suitable home environment for focusing. We are constantly scattering our attention across screens, television, computers, the internet, while simultaneously being bombarded by rapid climate changes, political shifts, and evolving social structures. We are literally overwhelmed with external information. To really illustrate this point, Zhu Feng leans on an ancient proverb. The 5 colors can confuse the eye. The 5 sounds can deafen the ear. What's fascinating here is how the text connects this ancient wisdom directly to our modern inability to concentrate. Our awareness is constantly distracted by endless marvels and studies, making it incredibly difficult to focus our energy on a single solitary point. Because our desires are just too numerous and superficial, and because we only ever really dabble in our efforts, the author paints this really vivid picture. We become like leaves blown chaotically by the wind, unable to take root or focus on any single thing. And obviously, when you're just blowing in the wind like that, triggering that universal miracle program is completely impossible. So, how do we fix this? That brings us to section 3, the eightfold liberation state, the prerequisite mindset. The text clearly contrasts our everyday, overwhelmed state with what it calls the right fruit, or the state of eightfold liberation. Most of us are living with a scattered mind, right? It's filled with too many desires, superficial effort, and plagued by external worries. But the target state is the exact opposite. It's completely free of sadness, fear, and secular attachments, leaving you ready to focus with absolute, laser-like clarity. Achieving this state of eightfold liberation definitely requires some heavy mental lifting. You have to actively shed the things weighing you down: secular attachments, possessions, the ego or self, sadness, worries, attachment, pessimism, and fear. Reaching this serene, liberated state is presented by Zhu Feng as the absolute mandatory foundation. You literally have to reach this emotional baseline before a miracle can even be attempted. Okay, so once you have the mindset, what's the actual process? Let's look at section 4, the daily practice blueprint, the mechanics of focus. The framework starts with what it calls elementary self-improvement. It suggests spending exactly 3 minutes each morning praying to the greatest creator to clearly express your wishes. It's a foundational step, kind of like setting the stage to start aligning the universe to help realize your ideals. But for the advanced practice, the true engine of miracle making, the text demands something incredibly rigid. It requires exactly 8 minutes every single day. Here is the step-by-step blueprint. First, determine exactly what goal you wish to achieve. Second, spend 8 minutes in the same place at the exact same time every day. Third, adopt the exact same direction, posture, action, or thought. And fourth, persist in this practice until the miracle occurs. So it's not about passive hoping. It requires blocking out all external information and repeating this physical and mental action daily without fail. The author actually makes this super bold claim. Turning water into wine is not difficult. But, he asks, do we consistently focus our consciousness on a glass of water in a calm state? The text neutrally presents this as a mere matter of sustained focused consciousness. The idea is that there are no unattainable goals, only efforts that are incomplete and abandoned halfway. To illustrate the timeline required for this, the text quotes an old saying, 3 feet of ice do not form in a single day, and a drop of water wears through a stone not in one day. It uses this vivid imagery to really drive home the absolute necessity of extreme patience. Sporadic efforts, occasional thoughts, and brief dabbling simply will not work to trigger the universe's program. It's all about that mechanical persistence. Like a saw cutting through wood, or water constantly dripping through stone. With dedicated effort, miracles will appear. You are essentially applying repetitive, unrelenting focus to a single point until the universe's program is literally forced to activate. As we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with a final thought to ponder based on Xufeng's fascinating framework. You might know exactly what you want, your deepest, most cherished desire. But can you focus on a single drop of water long enough to pierce the stone? Do you actually have the unyielding discipline to trigger the program?